Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you. For all of our brothers and sisters all over the world of every faith, our Jewish brothers and sisters who celebrated Passover, our Muslim brothers and sisters who celebrated Ramadan, and our Christian brothers and sisters who, like myself, commemorated Resurrection Sunday. May God bless everybody in or out of faith. I just pray that you are blessed and you feel the blessings of God falling upon you in your life today. We got a lot to talk about here, but first I want you to go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and like and subscribe and press that button so that you can be notified every time we come on live, and share the show. Please, the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. Meet me on X. I was about to say Twitter. Oh, pshaw, not really. At Santita J. That's where I am. Today we got a couple of really interesting topics to talk about. We're talking about political violence in the second hour. What is going on in America? What has been going on, not just in America, but in the world? We act as if political violence is not part of our lineage. It is. Can you say Malcolm X? Can you say Martin Luther King? Can you say Medgar Evers? Can you say Gandhi? Can you say Yitzhak Rabin? Can you say, this is what we do? It's the way of the world, and it's a sad thing. But now we saw President Biden hogtied behind a Trump vehicle. And that is very disturbing. And we need to talk about that. But let us be very clear, January 6th was not the start of political violence in the United States of America. When will it end? And, well, what's going to happen? In Indiana, they have said no guns at the polls. Really? Is that where we are? Clearly we are. So we're going to talk about that in the second hour. But right now, let's begin the discussion talking about the uncommitted campaign, which has taken off all around the country. Many people have said that it's actually a movement, not just a campaign, it's a movement. So let's talk about this. In 21 days, the people of Michigan said, look, if we just get 10,000 votes to let President Biden and the Democratic Party know that we are serious about a ceasefire, we will have made some inroads. They got 101,000 votes. Almost 20% of the vote right here at AM 950 Radio, here in Minneapolis, in the state of Minnesota. 19% of the vote. Astonishing. And so what will happen in Wisconsin? What's going to happen in the rest of the country? What does this say about what could happen as we come into the fall election season? As we come to the convention, many people are saying that the DNC, the Democratic National Convention of 2024 in Chicago, will be very much like 1968 and then some. Because people are coming here, be very clear, and they're coming here to express intent. They're coming here to express their opinions, and they are very serious, and they're planning. And interestingly enough, Joshua Feinstein, they are staying off the grid as they organize. So they're just going to, I think, show up in Chicago, and I think we will all be a little stunned. So you inspired this conversation, but as I bring you up, I want to say hello to Attorney Darrell Jones, Mr. Esquire. That's right, because my Sora attorney Anastasia Shanat said, you better put that handle on there. Of course, he's the chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition. She's the president of the Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois. Attorney Mark Fancher, brilliant civil libertarian and author from the National Conference of Black Lawyers. He's based in Michigan. And of course, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds on his way to Chicago. Ron, I can't wait for you to get here. We're going to have some fun. Oh my gosh. And Joshua, I know you're coming to Chicago. You better.
I will.
You just better come to Chicago. We are going to have a grand old time. But you came to me last week and you said, look, this uncommitted, this uninstructed campaign, it's becoming a movement. And it really is more. I mean, the more people are finding out about it, they're calling you in Michigan. How do we do it? And even if the votes are not showing up at the polls, it's really on people's mind. People are saying, okay, can I write somebody in? How can I let the Democrats? How can I let somebody know where I am in this election season? Talk to me. What is going on, and what should we expect in the primaries later on today?
So, in terms of what we can expect, I'm not going to pretend to put into my crystal ball. I remember the time we were speaking, was it, I don't know if we spoke before or after the Michigan one, where we knew that we had something special, but we didn't realize that it really was the beginning of a movement. All I'll say right now is I've been watching the activity where people are coming to uncommitted and saying, "How do I help? How do I get involved?" And this is months in now, and people are saying, "I'm here. I want to help. I want to help man the phones. I want." No one's saying, "I'm looking for a job" or "I'm looking for a paycheck." People are coming out and saying, "I want to be involved," and that's happening right now, even as we speak. I follow along on the threads, as you would say. And I don't have any statistic to say tomorrow you're going to see X or tomorrow you're going to see Y. All I can say is that the activity that I'm seeing is very positive and fills me with a lot of hope. Does that make sense? I hope.
Absolutely, it does. And that's why I wanted to find out from you what is going on, because now it's expanded from uncommitted to uninstructed. What does it mean to be uninstructed?
It's so essentially when you have the idea of in Michigan, it's called uncommitted. Just uninstructed is another way of in the ballot saying, I do not accept the choices that I've been given. That I am not committing or I'm not actually delegating my vote to this party or that party. Uninstructed is another way of saying uncommitted or saying that I'm withholding my vote for now. I am withholding my vote. I'm not casting my vote for any particular party at the moment. Now, in terms of where we're at, I think it was last Monday, the team had we had really an official national kickoff. You know, the leaders of the movement, they invited the press, we were all there, and they said, we're officially going national. Today, Monday, was a week from, actually, I think it was a week from today. We actually had we said we're going national, and here's what we're going to do next. We've got Wisconsin, we just had Minnesota, there's even New York coming up, et cetera, et cetera. And so even as we speak, there's a team in New York right now helping out to actually put whatever the equivalent is on the ballot to make sure that that uncommitted or uninstructed vote is cast. So it is a national movement at this point. What does it mean? It means that we do not have to accept when our leaders fail. We do not have to just say, okay, take us for granted. It's voting season. You're going to say a couple of nice things and we're going to roll over. No, we're going to have our voices heard. So that's where we're at right now. I hope that answers the question of, well, where's the campaign at? What does it mean? Or is it, what are your, did I answer the question?
No, absolutely you did. I mean, the reason I was pausing is because I'm projecting out beyond, because this season will be finished by June.
Yes.
But I get the sense that this is bigger than the primary season.
Oh, yes, very much so. So the way that we talk about it and the way we've been, I guess the word is positioning, for lack of a better word, is we get to June and now we can pivot and now start to really focus on those down ballot races, because everyone's attention is here now in terms of, oh, you don't have to go for the status quo, or I want to actually support a progressive candidate, but I don't see a path to victory. This shows that that's possible. So what you're going to see is a lot of us that work in uncommitted, uninstructed, even though myself, I've been actually directing my attention to those down ballot races already. But I think you'll see a lot of attention go towards that with the wind in our sails, that we do not have to accept the status quo. And the voting season, as you all know, is not just about what's at the top of the ballot box. It's not just about two octogenarians, God help us. It is about, it's a ticket that's a rich ticket all the way through. And the way to actually have a voice in society is to have representation in those different parts of the ticket.
And so really what you're doing is making people feel hopeful. When I, at the beginning of this primary season, I didn't hear people talking about it because it was a fait accompli. It was just, it's Joe Biden. It happened. This is what happened in 2020. You know, you had Joe Biden, who was forced, quite frankly, foisted upon us.
Yes.
Because the establishment pulled Bernie out. They pulled Elizabeth Warren out, and they presented the least likely and the most unpopular candidate, let's be honest. And I, to fully disclose, have known President Biden 40 plus years, since I was a kid. He's a nice guy. This has nothing to do with whether I like him or not. even though his politics were always to the right of mine and I never supported his policies. So this is not personal for me. This for me is, I didn't think that he was the best guy in 2020. And many people just said, just get Trump out of there. But it seems like immediately you had no honeymoon period for him. So you felt the antipathy and the ambivalence that people felt about him early in 2020. It kicked off in 2021. And it's just, to me, it's continued to build. This to me is a build. We're building upon the ambivalence that people felt about a candidate who no one was really excited about, but we were very excited about getting Trump out.
Yes. Interesting you should say that, because that's a pivot, and I certainly want to hear from my fellow
I was
panelists.
actually going to jump in and say I actually disagree with the uncommitted, uninstructed voters. And the reason why is because we are in a time in which we're facing another 2020 situation in which we already know Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee. And we already know that the Democratic nominee will be Joe Biden. So if we're going to really truthfully think about ourselves and think about the forward movement of our people here in America, we're really going to have to make a choice between the two candidates that are presented. I think a no vote and I call it a no vote. A no vote meaning you're going to vote for another uncommitted or uninstructed or independent candidate, or someone write in a candidate. I think that's just, in my opinion, a wasted voice vote, because then it gives Donald Trump an opportunity to get back in office if you don't want him in office.
But
Number one.
number one, in the primary, you're supposed to have a choice.
I want to make sure.
I mean, they had choices in the Republican Party, but they didn't even choose the choices that they had. The one that stayed in the longest was Nikki Haley, and they didn't even choose her. Yeah, and she was totally different than Donald Trump, but they're scared of him.
But some people did people are not just scared of him. People like him. And I think people need to understand he has, now you're seeing in the corporate media, now the quiet part is being said out loud. He has 20 to 25% of the Black vote. He's got about 45% of the Hispanic vote. He is not some outlier. And the political establishment are working very, very hard to push him into the nether regions, I think, because he's a little bit stronger. You drive around the country, Anastasia. When you get out of, when you drive south and when you drive beyond urban America, and when people drop their guards and talk to you, they tell you they like him.
I can totally see why they like him. I told you before that he brings about that Godfather complex, right? Where the movies, the Godfather, he's got that machismo, he's got that gangster mentality, he's got that thuggish, ruggish attitude that don't hold me back. But at the end of the day, if we're looking at his resume, right, he doesn't do that much for Black people, just like Joe Biden doesn't do that much for Black people. If we're really thinking about how has our world changed since he's become president, it's actually increased the amount of domestic terrorism, the domestic violence.
He's sending. I want to pivot to the rest of the panel, but I'm going to come back to you. Think about Joe Biden sending arms to Israel, sending arms to, arming the people fighting the people's will in Haiti. He's doing it. And then he's sending people who are seeking refuge in the United States from Haiti. He wants to send them to Guantanamo base.
I hear that. I have another comment on that. But I wanted to just make my point that I disagree with the uncommitted voter, uninstructed voter. I think there needs to be a plan that fits more broadly. And I think Democrats really need to put it together. They haven't put it together by now. They're not going to put it together, and they're going to lose.
Well, I think they're going to lose.
I think Anastasia makes a great point, and I just want to make sure I understand it so I can respond.
Please,
so Anastasia, if I understand your point is, hey, uncommitted, at best or at worst, it's a wasted vote. You're giving the election to Trump. Is that's
how I feel.
Yeah, very good. So a couple of things in terms of her credential, and Santita's heard me say this a number of times. This time 4 years ago, out campaigning for Joe Biden, big Biden supporter, someone who was in the swing areas of Ohio and Michigan, knocking on those doors to make sure that he would carry those districts. So I'm coming with a pedigree of, in the past, being a supporter of Joe Biden. So that's one. Two, when you say it's giving it to the election, I would submit to you a couple of things. We would say, everyone says to me, Trump is an existential threat to democracy. And my response is, the existential threat is happening now. There is a Holocaust, there's a genocide going on in Gaza, and our president has not lifted a finger to stop it. Quite the contrary. Again, he's figuring out how to send more money and more weapons to Israel. And if we don't want Trump to win in November, the person who actually can deliver the victory for Biden is Joe Biden. He just needs to pick up the phone and actually get that ceasefire declared, and he will begin to design his own destiny back into the White House come next January. Otherwise, it's not uncommitted that we should be pointing at the finger at. It is Mr. Biden himself. So back over to you, Santita and Anastasia, for any double rebuttal on that.
Well, actually, let me kick it to the rest of it, because I see everybody chomping at the bit to get involved. Texas Hold'em, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. Because you are talking to the people. I mean, and I think people are looking for options. But, I hear Anastasia, but I hear... What are you hearing? Let me ask you.
Honestly, I'm hearing both sides of the argument very frequently. This is a very prevalent topic of discussion that is coming up in more rooms than not. And I live in a very diverse area where a lot of people are celebrating Ramadan, and I'm at iftar dinners where it is a very frequent topic of discussion. There's two things I want to say about this quickly. One is that I understand both sides of the equation. I think that the uncommitted vote is doing what it's designed to do, is getting the attention. And I think that President Biden is very wise to listen to it while it's in the primary, because as the race now shifts to a general election, then it's going to be too late, right? It's going to be, he can't afford that drop off in those key swing states where that's going to decide the electoral college. It's not going to be a popular vote decision. It's going to be coming down to about 6-7 swing states. So if President Biden is listening, then he needs to hear the concerns, and they're screaming that as loud as they can say it. They're interrupting at fundraisers where he's speaking at, in churches and everywhere, right? There's no way he can escape this issue. His polls are dipping with a key demographic: African-American men, Muslim men, Hispanic men, for maybe not this issue, but Hispanic men. But he can fix this. And I also understand what Anastasia is saying, because my comment to them is, but we can't afford another 4 years of Trump. That would be disastrous. That would be, in addition to this crisis, which I don't believe that Trump is on the right side of this. Matter of fact, I know he's not. He said it. There are so many other issues that I'm concerned about when it comes to African Americans, women's reproductive rights, when it comes to climate, when it comes to criminal justice reform, when it comes to so many other things that I think Trump would be disastrous with. It would be a colossal mistake when it comes to the federal benches and the Supreme Court potentially. So I think this is very wise for the Biden administration to take heed of these protesters and this uncommitted during the primary. Anastasia, the only reason I disagree with one point you made is that this uncommitted vote is right now that they're doing the primary where they're only focusing on the Democratic candidate, so it doesn't impact Trump on the Republican ticket. But this can be long term if he doesn't correct it. So this is a wake-up call. This is a clarion call for him to wake up, get out of his bubble, address these issues that could sink his campaign. And even though they may not vote for Trump, which I don't think they will undervote, or they will vote third party, which to me, that shifts the electoral college in favor of Trump. Trump can't win a popular vote. He needs to have a third party do well. He needs to have independents do well. He's going to have his own problems with the Nikki Haley supporters and that wing of the party, right? The more country club establishment supporters. that's a whole nother issue. But if Biden doesn't address this key issue, then that could be enough to tank his election. So I think it's both and. I mean, this is the only way that they can get his attention is to say, hey, I think this is a direct action, right? You talk about civil disobedience. You talk about making good trouble. They're making good trouble, and I don't fault them for that. I just hope that there's some kind of way that they can meet, come to a meeting of the minds. I think that you're right. The Chicago DNC, this will be a disaster with all the cameras on there. They won't be able to keep the media away, like they kept the media away from covering the New York fundraiser with Obama and Clinton. They won't be able to control that narrative. It will be chaos if Biden doesn't get a hold of this before August when we go to Chicago. So he has time, but the clock is ticking. And I think this is a wake-up call that he needs so desperately to get his affairs in order. And I've been early on saying that there should be a ceasefire. This is a humanitarian crisis. This is genocide. This is wrong. I don't support the uncommitted, but I understand it. I understand it because they are getting the attention that needs to be. I don't know what else going to get Biden's attention. I really don't. What else can we do? How many more tens of thousands of innocent people need to die? And he seems to only want to talk about humanitarian aid. Yes, they need humanitarian aid, but they need an end. He needs to stand up to Benjamin Netanyahu and say enough is enough. So that's why I think I understand what they're doing, and I think it's the only tactic that they have that can save lives and hopefully save his election if he listens and stops being beholden to potentially AIPAC. I don't know. Maybe that's what this is.
Dwight McKee, what are your thoughts? I mean, you're the senior advisor to Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West, in his presidential campaign, but you have been active in presidential campaigns for a while. You witnessed the '68 convention. I mean, you were part of the planning group where Reverend Jackson and Alderman Bill Singer up into the '72 convention and unseated Richard Daley. That was huge then. And people disagreed with that tactic. We were like, we're tired of the Chicago machine. The Democratic machine's choking us here. Dwight, what do you think of uncommitted and uninstructed, that campaign?
Well, first, let's stop saying Bible is in a bubble. Bible is a war criminal. He ain't in a bubble. Is that they want to give him credit about the economy. They want to give him credit about appointing the judges. He wants to take full credit for investing in the infrastructure of the country. But when it comes to killing 30,000 people, they want to say he's living in a bubble. Take full credit for that, too. Take credit for being a war criminal for committing genocide to a people. I can't think of anything worse for a man to do, Democratic or Republican. And so when you come to comparing Trump and Biden, I don't see any moral difference between the two. This is just me talking. And so I think that the uncommitted are making a statement. I just don't think the statement goes far enough.
Where should it
I
go?
think the statement has to be that when the election is over, that they're willing to not vote for either candidate, that they're willing to vote for an alternative candidate. And there are enough people in the middle to elect somebody who is just better than either one of those candidates. Is that they are on the left and on the right. When you combine the two, they are now the new majority. And so if they stop thinking with the mentality that they only have Trump and Biden to choose from, then they can make a more rational choice and not have to make a choice of two evils, not the lesser of two evils, because both of them are equally evil to me, but making a choice between other alternatives who are more committed to the moral imperative.
So you're not saying but Trump?
No, I'm saying it should be more than Biden and Trump. I'm saying that there are other alternatives out there, and there are enough people dissatisfied with both Biden and Trump to elect one of them.
Are you saying that you're willing to even to see another Trump presidency, or even one from RFK or Cornel West?
Yeah, if necessary, if the choices come down to Biden and Trump, I don't think there is a choice. I don't think you're choosing the lesser two evils. I think you're choosing one evil over another evil. So then you just you want to make the whatever the personal decision works for you. But I think that the logic is that you're choosing the lesser evil over the greater evil. I think that logic breaks down. I think both of them are equally as evil, because to me, there's no greater sin than wholesale murder. And Biden has totally shown that he is perfectly willing to do that with a smile on his face.
And send the Haitians to Guantanamo Base, Mark Fancher.
And send them weapons
I
to
mean,
to to,
to fight,
to fight and to
to fight
kill.
the people in the streets. I mean, what? I mean, can it get worse than this, Mark?
Yes, it can, and I think that the challenge for people who see the world as I see it is to, in some way, help people to understand that this isn't about Biden. It's not about Trump. Biden may be a very friendly sort of a fellow. He might be, a nice guy to talk with about his years in Scranton or wherever he's from. Uh, but he's not unique. He's not unique in the sense that every president, no matter who they are, no matter what party they're from, engage in acts which are just as horrendous and horrific. Obama took down an entire state. The state, Libya is gone because of what Obama did. A leader of that country, Muammar Gaddafi, was brutally assassinated. Every president, no matter who they are, engages in this because that's the job description. That's what a president does, no matter who they are. And I think that even larger than this is the question of to whom do we belong? I think that we have been fooled into thinking, and we live with the delusion that we are the United States of America and that we all belong to this community, that we all participate in a so-called democracy, that we all participate in electing the individuals who will lead us. And none of that is true. The United States of America is actually an entity which was created by and which is dominated by an oligarchy. It is controlled by a collection of large corporations, wealthy families, wealthy individuals, and other people with power. And their objective is not to participate in community with the rest of us. It is to manipulate us, to exploit us, and in some cases to oppress us. That is their mission. And it is their mission to do that to us because that is what they do around the world. Their ultimate objective is to control the planet. And they do that in a number of different ways, using a number of different strategies. And if we're realistic and if we really understand how this works, then we'll understand that we're not in community with them. We are their victims. We are in community with other people who don't live in this country. We are in community with the people in the Sahel, in Western Africa, and in Niger, who understand all of this very clearly and have made definitive moves to eject, to expel the empire from their existence. Nobody thought that West Africa would push the French out of West Africa, and they have done it. And now they're making moves to push the United States military out of Africa. That is extremely inspiring to those of us who really understand how this works. It is inspiring to us that people in Haiti who've been under the thumb of US imperialism for more than 2 centuries are making moves now to assert themselves and to assert their independence and to say, our community is not part of your empire, get out. It is inspiring to us to see that people are waking up. And when we never thought that there would come a day when much of the world, many of the people throughout the world of goodwill would come to understand the contradictions of Zionism and would see the brutality that the state of Israel is capable of, and would be able to understand the criminality of it, and would come together as a community of people globally and to say no to this. We don't want to be a part of it. It's part of the imperialist project, and we reject it. And so our community is one that has nothing to do with the so-called United States of America. It has to do with the people of goodwill, people with morals, people who have scruples around the planet, who want to go another way. And voting uncommitted is a way, it can be a first step away from the entire process. Not worrying about whether it's Trump or Biden, but away from the entire thing. And organizing in a way across national boundaries with people who are ready to bring down the empire to finally bring it down. It is going to collapse anyway, because all empires do ultimately. It's just a question of how much more pain and death it's going to be responsible for before it collapses. And for people like me, we want to make that now. And I think that if voting uncommitted is a first step in that direction, then I'm all for it. And I think we just need to keep on stepping until finally revolution prevails.
Santita,
Yes.
could I just say something really quickly? Because I didn't say it, but it was really more in response to the white, but Mark kind of picked up on it. I think the arguments, you can make compelling arguments about it. And I disagree about, there's no comparison, in my opinion, between President Joe Biden and former President Trump. I think former President Trump is the worst. I think he's a racist. I think he's a misogynist. I think he believes in white supremacist values. And I think Make America Great is certainly the kind of a slogan that really wants to set people who look like us back, right? But I don't think Biden is the leader and the transformational person that inspires. And I think that if I had my choice, we would have a different nominee, but we don't. And right now we are in a two-party system. I didn't devise the rules. That is really the way our democracy is set up in America, that the two prevailing parties, Democrat and Republican, will determine the outcome of the presidential election. Until we change that system, where a credible third party or independent can make a real run at it, it'll be one or the other. And so while we may want to flirt around with a third party candidate, and it could be, let's say hypothetically, it was Obama, and we are just whatever, whoever it is, Oprah, you just name a person. It doesn't matter who that person is. That person won't be able to win the president of the United States of America based on the way that the two-party system is designed and the electoral votes. It is difficult for many of them to even get on the ballot across the 50 states. So I say, as maturely as I can, while I don't really like the two choices, certainly I wish that we had other alternatives that were viable. It's going to come down to Trump and Biden. That no matter how we slice the pie, that we can't get around. So I think that if we can have theoretical arguments and conversations, which I think are great for debate. But I think when it boils down to it, we're going to end up with one or the other. And if we're not careful, we can make calculated decisions based on our choices that favor one or the other. And for me, one of the things that I'm very concerned about is a second Trump term. Yes, in the future, I like to see us bet the primary candidates better than we did to end up with Biden. But I mean, that it is what it is. So I just wanted to say that in response, because I do think that we can make compelling arguments about what Biden hasn't done. And to his credit, there are a number of good things that I can point out that he has done. But that, that's for another day. But the point I'm making is that until we change the structure, the inherent two-party system structure, it's going to be one or the other. And I don't think anybody can realistically argue that prove me wrong based on precedents and the way the electoral college is set up. So I think our system maybe needs reform, but now's not the time, in my opinion, to experiment with it until it's changed for the better. We have what we have. So I just wanted to just kind of inject that into the
No, that's just
Okay.
yeah, that's just the point. There can be nothing more undemocratic than to lock a people into a two-party system. And if something is unjust, there is never going to be a right time that system is going to present for you to destroy it. The time to destroy it is now, unless we want to tolerate the lack of a democratic process.
Well, this isn't a democracy. A democracy, the republic functions this way, but a democracy doesn't work this way. A democracy offers you choices. We don't have choices. Joshua, I know that you've got to leave.
Yes.
But, and we're going to continue on. And of course, Attorney Daryl Jones, I'm going to bring you in. But I mean, so I'm glad we're having this robust discussion, because I think that more people would like to vote uncommitted and uninstructed than will do it. Let me just say this very quickly. I remember Bill Cosby at the height of the Cosby Show fame. Well, first of all, in 1983, no one was more supportive of Reverend and Mrs. Jackson personally and of that campaign. They put energy, money into it, the whole thing. They personally enabled my parents to be able to run, because my father couldn't earn any money during the campaign. And Dr. Cosby said to my mother, "You do know, I know Jesse's impulsive. You do know you all can't make any money. Not like you make a lot anyway. So let's just take this off your plate." Just incredible people. But he did a commercial in 1988 on the set of the Cosby Show, everybody, which, was iconic, and it was still number one at that time. And he said, I want you to know that you have a choice in this campaign season. He said, oftentimes we go to the polls and we just pull a lever because we just have to do it. This is what we've got. He said, but now we have a candidate we can really, really, who we really believe in and who we really want to vote for. He said, give yourself that opportunity and go vote for Jesse Jackson. And I'm saying I feel that way about uncommitted and uninstructed today. It's just like, because the primary is where you work out the kinks.
Exactly.
Well, let me say before he goes real quickly.
But let me finish this point. Remember, Bill Clinton did not win with a majority. He won with a plurality.
Yes. Yep.
Dwight,
and let me say real quickly, is Republican Party was a third party.
Yes.
The Republican Party wasn't born in the 1850s. Mm-hmm. Lincoln was a third party candidate. There was no Republican Party when Jackson ran. The Republican Party was not born. It was born as an anti-slavery party, mm-hmm. and they had to find a candidate to become their nominee. That was not until the 1850s. So don't tell me that a third party can't win. They won before.
In America.
So I have two thoughts that I'm leaving you with. Is we'll see, a day after tomorrow, hopefully we'll reconvene and we'll discuss and debate about what's happening in the next 24, 48 hours. But I'll leave you with uncommitted today, down ballot tomorrow. That's where my thoughts are.
Well, mic drop on that.
Down ballots. So. And
how can we get in touch with people who, because there are people who are going to be who are going to the polls? What is there any resource that they have? I mean,
yes. So as a matter of fact, there's an uncommitted Wisconsin website that you can go to. There's a national website, the uncommitted.com. There's a national website but let me, some offline, I'd like to send you those quote materials so that I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the exact one on the top of my head, but I owe you that. In terms of, hey, we're in a 48-hour window. I certainly get the information and disseminate out. Since you're giving the platform, I'm going to send you that information this evening. Okay. All right.
Absolutely. You got it. You got it.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you very soon.
Much love to you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Okay. Yes.
Absolutely. Bye-bye. Attorney Daryl Jones, we have been waiting to hear from you, but this has been a really robust discussion. Of course, my soror got things kicked off.
I still have more to say, but I'm waiting.
No, not you. No.
Yeah,
She's
I know
waiting.
Attorney Jones has got some stuff to say, so I'm gonna let him talk. But then I'm coming back in. Okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you
You're
very much.
welcome. You're welcome.
You know, and listening to the discussion, I think that one of the things that that people have to take into consideration, I think, is this, and we're talking about the third party candidates, and you know, I wholeheartedly support anybody that wants to run for president because I believe that you know it is the expression of the people, is that First Amendment right. I mean, that's how you gather the interest of the people to figure out where their interest lies. But in this election season, when we start looking at Trump versus Biden, which is the lineup that we're looking at now, and the third party impact that this is going to have, I sort of agree with some of what I think it was Mark was saying. And one of the things is this: if you go with former President Trump, right, you're then saying go ahead and kill the Ukrainians because he's going to be a pro-Russian. So go ahead and do whatever you want to do to the Ukrainians. If you're going with current President Biden, it's almost like you're saying, I don't care that much about Gaza because we know that he's still sending bombs over there to have these people, bombed and killed. And so the third party candidate then comes along, and I think Dwight was making a point that you have a Cornel West that comes along and said, I don't want either of these evils, either one of these evils. So that's why I want to support a Cornel West or Robert Kennedy Jr. or a Jill Stein, because I'm against all of that altogether. And I think that the question becomes, when I look at it that way, and if you're looking at it just Trump versus Biden, I believe that Trump's base is much stronger than Biden's base. And, and I.
Daryl? Oh my word. I think we lost him for a second. Attorney Daryl Jones?
Look, God was telling me to tell him.
No, let him, he's back now. He's back. I saw Raw.
Okay,
Order.
he's back. Okay, go ahead.
Point of order. Point of order.
I was like, God froze him for a reason. He was like, Attorney Sinat, time to jump in. But that's all.
Point of order. I'm taking you into a sorority meeting. Get back.
Okay.
But I do think that there are two evils that are there. I think that when people got rid of President Trump and voted for President Biden, they were getting rid of that evil. And now they have Biden in place, not because they loved him, but because he was the one that could most likely beat former President Trump. And that's where we are now. And I think that, where we are now as a nation is that, we're almost in that same position of which one do you want to have in place? I certainly support the third party candidates, but I think that the impact of the third party candidates will probably be greater against Biden than it will be against Trump.
Okay, everybody is Attorney Sinat. Mind you, everybody, we only have about 7 minutes left. Everyone gets a minute. Attorney Sinat, whatever you can say, 60 seconds.
Okay, first and foremost, I want to thank Attorney Franchuk for bringing up the fact that Haiti has been getting guns from the United States, and they're trying to convince the people of Haiti that they should be killing each other. But obviously, they're not killing each other in the same sense. A lot of those quote unquote gang leaders are known to themselves as freedom fighters because they want a democracy. They want to be able to choose their elected official. They want to be able to choose their president. They haven't been able to do so for 3 years since the United States assisted, or some citizen in the United States assisted with the killing of their president. So they want that kind of democracy, but they're not allowed to have it. Second of all, what we're looking at is an opportunity for people to really understand what's going on in other places. And obviously, we disagree with the foreign policy position that Biden has taken, particularly with respect to Gaza. Yeah, genocide is currently going on. People are more aware of it due to social media as well as independent reporting. But the truth of the fact is, an uncommitted, uninstructed voter also needs to have somebody to support. We've got Jill Stein, you've got Cornel West, and I forgot what the other name was that Daryl brought up. But at the end of the day, we're back to the two people. And the truth is, if you're not really an uncommitted voter, an uninstructed voter that has someone to support for real, then they're not going to win like the Republican Party did in the 1850s, as Dwight McKee had mentioned. What we have is a situation in which evil versus evil, and evil's still going to win. But what kind of evil are you looking at seeing in the White House? What kind of evil are you looking at seeing it doing? I think that he tried to step it back with Kamala Harris talking about the ceasefire, but he hasn't stepped it back enough. And he definitely needs to step it back more, because no one agrees with what's going on in Gaza at this point.
But she wasn't supporting the ceasefire. She was supporting the pause. Come on, girl. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I love the
6
vice
weeks is
president.
better than nothing, because 6 weeks can roll over into 12 weeks, can roll over into 18 weeks. So we already know 6 weeks is something, and that's better than nothing.
No, this has been look. I don't think it's better than nothing. What's been happening in Haiti? I think it's all wrong. And at some point it's got to stop. But you know what? I only have a few more minutes left. I love rolling with my soror, because steel sharpens steel. I ain't mad at you, sister. Attorney Mark Fancher, your thoughts? 1 minute.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that anytime a society reaches a point where they feel that revolution is necessary, that the entire system needs to be overthrown, then they brace themselves for a great deal of turmoil. It may mean warfare, it may mean death, it may mean deprivation, it may mean lots of problems. And I think that we should be, even though we're not, we should be ready for a revolution in this country. And it would mean lots of turmoil, lots of confusion, but probably not to the degree that you would see it in most revolutions. But there will be turmoil, and we just need to accept that. And so the fears that people have of another Trump presidency, that's just part of the turmoil. The fears that they may have of chaos at the Democratic convention, that's just part of the turmoil. You can't have fundamental change without it. And we just need to be ready to do it, because to continue to endure the injustice, the death, and the crimes that come from what we have is just intolerable. It has to stop.
Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, 1 minute.
Santita, listen, we cannot play checkers while the MAGA movement is playing chess. We know that this is a two-party system, and while I may not be excited about President Biden right now, on his best day, he's far better than Trump. On his worst day, far better than Trump on any given day. So I hope that we will hold him accountable. We will do everything we can to bring these issues front and center. I think that is what these third-party candidates do. They make him, like, competition makes you better, it makes you stronger. But at the end of the day, we cannot allow the MAGA movement to checkmate us while we're deciding a third-party candidate. They're focused and they're holding their nose and voting Trump because they want another Supreme Court, because they want federal judges, because they want to have lower taxes, because they want to keep ending Roe versus Wade. So we have to be very diligent and very practical and very methodical, and not let them outmaneuver us, because this isn't a game, but it does come down to two choices, and that is Biden or Trump.
You know what? I just got Ari Bloomkatz, executive editor of In These Times, on. Ari, I got 2 minutes for you. Talk to me. Oh my goodness, you're on mute. Uh-oh.
Sorry, great to see you all on the call. I'm really interested in what we're going to see out of Wisconsin tomorrow for the primary. Biden won by 20,000 votes there. And the coalition that has come together for the uninstructed campaign is nothing short of incredible. And I think also the main organization that you could really point to and say won for Biden and the last election is Block in Wisconsin. And the political director for Block, Kyle Johnson, gave an interview for us at the Unobstructed campaign and told us that really it's a movement based on hope. And that's something that I think is really right now.
Well, I think this is, Dwight McKee, what you got to say? I got 1 minute for you, buddy.
Well, this is a two-party system because they told you it was a two-party system. It ain't got to be a two-party system. Is that they scare you and they be voting anybody else outside the parties. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Every other government just about in the world works as a parliamentary system. They have different parties represented, and then they split power when they get to their parliament. We're the only ones that have been so programmed is to believe only two parties can have a vote and a voice. And so once we free our minds, locked into what somebody's telling us is all we can be, then we can explore the possibilities of doing things outside the norm, particularly investing in other people with other ideas.
Well, you, Attorney Darrell Jones, as George Clinton says of Parla Funkadelic, if you free your mind, the rest of you will follow. I'm paraphrasing. 1 minute for you.
Well, I think that we're in a really precarious position right now. And I say that because, we have one presidential candidate that has been admitted to groping and all these criminal trials that are going on, as well as having many of members of his past administration locked up. And he's winning on the primary and is on the doorstep of possibly returning to the White House. And when I look at that, and I look at the impact of the third party candidate, we've got to be certain that we have, a strong enough candidate that can overcome someone that has all those failings that's in their record, that's in their file. So, I don't know how President Biden turns it around to open it up to win those voters that he's lost because of his Gaza policies. But if he is to do it, now is the time that he needs to start making it happen.
I tell you, he's losing me on Haiti too.
Yes.
I'm on Haiti also. So while we're talking about Gaza, and we should remember Haiti. Never forget Haiti. Those are our cousins too. Don't forget that. We're sending weapons there. We're not even allowing them to come to the United States. We would push them back in the ocean so they could be eaten by the alligators. That is what we've been doing in Haiti. And we've been doing it for 200 years, making them pay for fighting the power and winning. Let us not forget that. We got Gaza, we got Haiti, and we got to deal with them both at the same time, everybody. God bless you. Hey, everybody. I tell you what, the primaries, that is the time when you work out the kinks. We do not have a democracy. We have a republic that has democratic aspects. And it works this way because we allow it to work this way. On the day that we decide that we want the kind of government, another kind of government, we will change it. You got to stop buying this stuff. I'm with you, Dwight. You got to stop buying all of these myths that they keep telling us. George Washington told you that a two-party system would lead to tyranny, and here we are. He said it. He said, don't buy into a two-party system. This is not good for us. He said it. Now, if he said that 200 years ago, why are we here 200 years later? Next hour, let's talk about political violence in America, because this kind of not allowing people their choices, not giving people their voices, is leading to political violence in America. Now you've got candidate Trump, who has Biden hogtied on the back of a Trump vehicle. But guess what? Medgar, Martin, Malcolm, Gandhi, Yitzhak Rabin, blah, blah, blah. Political violence is not new to our American or world experience. When is it going to stop? Stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show on AM 950 radio. Back in just a minute.